Robin, you ready?
Just a second.
Okay, we'll call to order the regular meeting of the Palominos Valley General Improvement District for June 28, 2024 at 6:05. Roll call.
Pam Roberts present.
You got a story?
John Patterson. Public comment on matters not listed on the agenda. Commenters must state their name for the record. There's a 2-minute limit per person.
Matthew Lambert, for the record. I asked the board for just a little bit of leniency on the time. I just had surgery last week in my sinuses, and it's just difficult for me to speak consistently, if that's okay. My name is Matthew Lambert. I own a small business out of Palomino Valley. It's called Lambert Farm, Reno. I provide goats to people to clear property and stuff. I had a client that I had already gotten a job with. I was getting ready to go start the work, and then I was informed by this client that due to information that they had received, that they weren't going to take my services anymore. So I asked them to please clarify what had happened. They were provided in a text message, which I was able to privy to see, a snapshot or a screenshot from the Recall the Cabal website that noted or that highlighted a previous board member had given access to a friend of the surveillance cameras located in the GID yard. And they explained, or they told me that what they had heard was that I personally was given access to the security cameras by a board member, by a trustee of the security yard. So upon hearing that, I contacted Tom Baker to get some clarification if he could provide any information that that I didn't know. And I asked him for some kind of letter or something. But at this point, I didn't know he had already been relieved of his position as the president or as the trustee. I then found out that, I was told that the reason the cameras were shut off or unplugged from the yard wasn't based on the services that were provided. It was based on Sean had made an accusation to Tom Baker that I was given access to those cameras, which is completely false. It is not true at all. I'm asking this board to please do an investigation or research emails or phone calls or whatever to get to the bottom of why I personally lost in my business, lost customers based on something that's not true. And there's no evidence to back up it being true. And I ask this board to, once you do or research or do whatever you need to do, if I can have a letter or anything from this board stating that fact so I can hopefully get this client back so that my business is not being impacted by it. I feel like it's a low blow for just disagreements that have this, had this come after my business and it impact me directly. Yeah. That's it. That's
Thank you,
it.
Matt.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Nope. Okay, so if you guys don't mind, just due to the fact that I want the same trustee to preside over the whole meeting, I'm gonna move the election of officers to now instead of later in the agenda. Are you guys okay with that?
Absolutely,
I'm fine with it.
it's your prerogative to do that.
Okay. So, you know what? I mean, you guys want discussion or you want to take public comment first?
I personally, when we have a topic on an agenda item, I like to get public comment first because sometimes they have something that's really valuable that we need to hear. And this is true of any agenda item. I know you can do it either way, you can wait for a motion
Yeah.
and then do it. But I think once in a while, there's a member of the public that makes a really valid point or asks a very good question that helps us make a better decision. And ultimately, it's our decision to make, but there are constituents, and sometimes they have some great ideas.
I'll take public comment. And we moved to this election of officers. That was 5B, and we're moving it up to right after public comments. So is there any public comment on election of officers?
My name is Paula Taylor, and John, I think you would make a wonderful president. I've watched your level head and your knowledge and your dedication to this GID. I think you'd make a good president.
Thank you. Any other? Brian?
Yeah, Brian DeMambro for the record. Likewise, when it comes to the election of officers, I really do believe that the person who is the president of the board should have experience, with the GID and all of its operation, its whole operation, and not just somebody who came to one meeting and all of a sudden they were president. And I think, John, that you've done a wonderful job. I watched you over the last couple of years, both directly and indirectly, and I believe that you would make a wonderful president for this board. You were the voice of reason here over the last year. That's it.
Any other public comment?
Yeah, more for the record, I just wanted to concur with both of them, that I think he is a great president, John, and
Thank you. Any other?
Lori Slick for the record. I think your idea of moving this on the agenda to the beginning of the meeting is really helpful for all of us, and especially for the operations of the board. So, thank you for that.
Any other public comment? Joyce?
I make a motion to elect John Patterson president of the GID. Appoint. No, elect. We elected. Yeah, we elected. We elected, yeah.
We elected.
Whatever, nominate him to serve as our president.
What do you think about this one?
Got a motion, do I get a second, Nevada?
Oh, you got a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, motion carries. So now for the next one, and you know what, because there's a few positions here, if someone has public comment, just yell out and we'll stop our discussion. So this is what I was thinking for the rest of the officers. I did talk to Greg. He's the only one I talked to about this item, and he's out of the country now. And I think he's happy in his position, staying there. And this is what I'm thinking. I was thinking Pam. I kind of want Pam to be the VP. And the reason for that, in my mind, is if something happens, and this is just for 6 months. We're going to redo this in January.
Right.
If something happens to me, someone has to be able to run the public meeting. And Pam, with her experience on the CAB and the Senior Citizens Advisory Board, I think she could put an agenda together and run the meeting. What are your thoughts, Greg?
Well, Greg wants to stay where he's at, which is fine. And it's only for 6 months. And I definitely feel like I would be able to do that.
You'd be able to run?
I think you're gonna be here every time, and you'll be fine. But just in case, that's what the vice president is for. So, and I am retired as opposed to this guy who's working, running a business, so it might be, I probably have more to do.
Well, then I'm gonna make a motion for Pam to be the VP.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, nay, motion carried. And then I'm gonna make a motion for Greg to remain as the secretary, Greg Dennis, to remain as the secretary treasurer.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
I,
Opposed? Motion carried. And I'm also gonna go further on this item, so everybody's aware and it's on the record. And I've discussed this with the operations manager. For the board handbook, the president has certain duties, and one is the primary contact person for the road maintenance operations manager. Although I get along well with Sean, and I communicate well with Sean, and I think we have a great relationship, my goal is to engage the whole board, right? I don't want one person taking the reins and doing everything, running the meetings, just, we need to engage all of us as a cohesive team to work for the people. And so I want Nevada to be the primary contact person for the operations manager. And I also discussed it in Nevada. And are you still affable to that?
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciate it.
so
And,
you
and
would
part
like
of,
to basically delegate that, responsibility that's outlined, and it says you can do that,
yeah,
to Nevada. Okay.
and I think it's appropriate because I'm more of the admin type of person. I like to talk to people and try to get things out of them. And I think Nevada is more of, speak Sean's language more, and I think they would work well together. And I'm not going away. I'm always here to help if there's ever an issue, so.
So can you phrase that so I can have it?
Can I do what?
Phrase it where you're delegating the authority
I'm
to,
designating Nevada Story as the primary contact person for the operations manager for our board handbook.
Related to the officers, just as a point of discussion to think about, no action needs to be taken now, obviously, but it's related to the election of officers. I would like us to think about between now and January, when we hopefully have a full board, 5 people, is actually separating out the secretary and the treasurer position.
And we can do it.
And, because I think, one of the things I'm gonna say almost every meeting is, even though we're volunteers, and I think we can all, as board members, do a little bit more than just show up at meetings. And save the district money.
And that's my goal.
Okay.
And so you're aware, Robin, the way this worked before with when Greg was president and I was vice president, it was a collaboration.
okay,
We did the road committee together. Everything, we were both tagged on every email. As
Okay.
2 trustees, no more, just the 2 of us. And part of that was because the VP assists the president in GID activities.
okay.
And so moving forward, I want that to happen with Pam,
I can.
only because you don't have to give input on every email you see. But if something peaks and you say, or I respond and you say, I think you should probably think about a different direction, that's the point of that. And then we're working together, which I think is appropriate.
And it's totally, we're not a quorum, it's not a subcommittee, on my senior advisory board where we get a deputy DA at all our meetings, who gives us lots of advice about open meeting law and all that stuff, is we are allowed to have even the vice president, the president, and like Robin could sit or we could do it over the phone and have a conversation about the agenda.
And
And that's, it's
and
not
that's-
a violation.
and that's exactly what Greg and I did,
Yeah.
and I think it worked. And obviously Greg and I didn't agree on everything, and that's part of it. So, okay, so that agenda item's done. Approval of minutes for possible action for May 23rd, 2024. Any discussion on that?
I didn't see any that jumped out at me, but
I just had one correction. Page 6, I think it was on page 6, Robin, where Greg was making the motion to add money to our original project.
Mhm.
And there was money in the motion for, I think it's written as road base, and it should probably say patching,
Okay.
and that's the only thing I saw.
I'll move to amend, or I'll move to approve the minutes as amended.
Public comment?
For the record, what's up? Robert, I'll work with you on the correct spelling of the last name.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I will correct it if you give it to me after the
I will
meeting.
do that. Thanks.
Any other public comment? I'll second the motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Review of bills and other financial matters, all other possible action, transaction reports.
Okay, on the transaction report, we went ahead and I have added the additional 30,000 that was approved at the meeting for the tilt trailer on the capital outlay. And then we also added the seal coat and patching project on this one.
Operating funds.
Oh, that one right there on top. Yep,
This one
that
here.
one there. And so those two projects are the increase is added, and then also the increase on for the road base is also added there. So we had 621,000 in the accounts, and we have about 160,000 revenue expected through the end of August. So kind of when you see the 133, obviously throughout the rest of the year, that number is going to increase come September. It'll change when we get the new increase, but that project's in there. And then on the transaction report, I have, there wasn't a lot of changes. The only kind of new things that you'll see are going to be on the bills. We have a little bit of a decrease, and there's a credit for the health insurance and the Humana because they requested that we pay for Chuck, and then they would give us a credit. They said it would be easier. So you do see a credit there, so that'll change a little bit next month. But we didn't have a whole lot of expenses this month. There's just a couple. There's the environmental protection for the septic fees for the annual. Other than that, there's pretty much everything as usual.
So on your aggregate,
Mhm.
we were supposed to take the 20,413 off of the 47 there,
20,000.
so it should be 27,303.94. Remember how we discussed that?
Which 20? I'm trying to find the 20.
Right here.
Right, I'm just trying to find the 20. Oh, did I just not update the value? Maybe?
Yeah, you just didn't.
Oh, I didn't change the
Oh,
math.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What was the donation from the commissioner?
That was on the transaction report on this one. It is up on the top account 5010 under other income. I know I kind of printed small under
So
other
is there a
income.
way- Because that's specifically designated
For road repair.
roads.
Mhm.
Is there a way that can be moved to? Because we have like the estimated net operating funds for road improvements through August.
Up here.
Is there a way we can get that over in that?
Kind of like star it so that it's in there.
Yeah, because then it's designated, I mean, it's specifically, it's gonna be used for that.
Okay.
Somewhere in this,
Yeah, I'll add a section with the ongoing road projects. I'll add a little disclaimer that 10,000 is to be used for there.
and then when we expend that then we'll note that we used it for that, so then we're complying. And so based on that, if I'm not wrong, so that means currently for estimated operating funds for road improvements, I'm 140. if I get that 10 of it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I can add that.
And once that's used, do you want me to send Commissioner Herman basically a breakdown of what we did with it?
I don't mind that at all.
And then there's three, if approved, there's three checks to sign. And I think you had a letter you said you wanted to attach to one of them, to the or the lawyer. I don't know if you have that, but it's in here. I can give it to you to sign.
Oh, okay. Any public comment? Let me make a motion to pay the bills. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Just that, I'd like to thank the Hermans very much for their donation to the road. Thank you very much.
Okay, for possible action, the district may take administrative action against John Kelly, which might include promotion, retention, suspension, promotion, reduction in pay, increase in pay, reprimand, promotion, retention, or no action. And so, you guys know it, but, so the closed session was for the annual review for the operations manager. And we can make a motion for any of those items there, but really all we did was agree money to do. So before we do that, and this is after we do this motion for retention, whatever the motion is, then we're gonna talk about compensation, we'll just kind of, and do it separately, even though it's kind of part of the same agenda item. But I want to have two motions on it separately. So on the first item that I just read, I'll take public comment.
For the record, I'm Wes Kim. I was wondering, number one, why we had to have a closed meeting regarding Sean, number one. Because he's done a hell of a job in 15 years I've been up here. And I think he's done a great job. In fact, I agree with just about everything he has done. Second of all, are we ever going to be able to get him some help? The man is doing everything he can. And I wish I could volunteer to do it, but I can't do it. But I think that the man could use some help, and I think we have enough money in the account to pay somebody to help him. I don't know what happened to his other friend, but I guess he went to the chocolate factory or something. But maybe that is head gotten back. But anyhow, but I think that Sean has done a hell of a job, and he certainly has done a great job, at least in my area. And I would like to know why we had to have a closed meeting on what he did, because as far as I'm concerned, his work is great, no matter what else anybody has to say about it.
Thank you. Any public comment, Matt?
Matthew Lambert for the record. I would ask that you guys hold off on this or make any decisions on this until, like I said in my initial comments, you guys investigate or look into. I have evidence that your employee used his position working for this GID to slander my name and to defame my name and my business. So I'm asking you guys, as trustees on this board, before you make any decisions regarding this employee, to please look into what I told you in the beginning. And I'm asking you guys to please do that.
Thank you. Brian?
Yeah, Brian Granbro for the record. Vicki and I, we've lived in this valley full-time since 2006 in our homes, and probably 2004 on site as our house was being built. And I know how the roads were back then. We live off of dirt and gravel roads. We don't live off of chip seal or anything. And I know the conditions of the roads were prior to, Sean taking over the position of the ops and bank manager. And also, yes, the roads right now are so much better. It's not even comparable to how much better things are. And I personally place that on Sean's skills, also upon Larry Johnson, the Larry Johnson board's great engineering work. I really believe that not only retain, I wish there was a way you could promote him, because, I mean, he does the roads, he works on the equipment, you know, he's available for a call at any given time. In my opinion, he's put up with a bunch of bovine fecal matter, especially here over the last year and a half, and he's still here, and he cares deeply about the conditions of the roads. And I'd like to ask anybody in here who was here in November, if you happen to have a recording of the November meeting, I would really appreciate a copy of it, if possible. But that's just me, and I just say that I believe we are blessed to have Sean as the operations manager for the GID.
Any other public comment? Any back here?
Is that, this is regarding his performance.
Yeah,
And whether to retain him, I guess, or?
I mean, really what it comes down to me, Pam, is no action or, what's the one that I
Well, we can't, there's nothing to
No,
promote
it's not
him,
on
there's nothing to promote, I'll just say this, there's nothing to promote him to, that's not even an option, arguably. And, you know, in terms of action as far as his performance, I mean, I don't believe there's anything documented at this time to suggest we should demote him or any of those, you know, take negative action. So, I'm not sure if you need a motion to.
So what I'm gonna do, what's the word that I'm just, I can't remember, I can't remember. Endorsement. Endorsement's not on here, so for this, before we talk about, wages, I'm just going to, with what I have, let's just, I guess what it is.
Move to continue to retain him as the office manager,
Yeah, I mean,
operations manager.
or we could just do, increase in pay is on here. And so we could talk about that, and that would just be one motion. That's listed as one of the items.
Well, if you want, you kind of wanted to separate, so you should probably open that up to the public
No, we
about
will.
whether they.
We will.
Okay.
So we'll just make one motion. If we increase it, pay, we'll make that the motion, or the motion's gonna be no action. So it's gonna be one of those two for me. So we'll do public comment on, unless you guys wanna discuss the compensation and then do public comment, or you guys want?
Well, we could just discuss some of the factors we should be, that are out there, if you guys need the paper, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Those that request agendas and supporting documentation would have received,
No, you
not
didn't.
this part?
I just brought it to the meeting
Okay,
because
all
I
right.
had made changes to it.
Okay, so, I can read it then, because I think the public should be entitled to hear this. But we get a thing in which they, it lists the consumer price index increase for 2024. And, in 2023, the CPI urban wage earners and clerical workers of all U.S. cities was 3.75%, and it's not adjusted for seasonal workers. 2022, it happened to be 8.5%. So, you know, we're talking, obviously, the cost of living has gone up, and whether or not we should increase it, you know, at least 3.7%, 75% is certainly one thing that we would be considering as the board. We don't have a motion yet, but if the public wants to comment on whether or not we should do that as the standard increase, or if they think we should do more, I mean, I'd like to hear from the public.
And we'll do that, and then you'll hear from me.
Okay,
Public comment.
I think you well deserved it.
and should get whatever you can, but still asking, is he gonna get some help?
Yes.
That's the thing, is there enough money in the budget with the compensation for him to get somebody else to help? That's the most important. The man can't do it all by himself. I stand behind him 100%. And I think he needs some help.
Any other public comment?
Matthew Lambert, for the record, again, I'm asking you to table this conversation, this agenda item until you guys can look into what I'm telling you or what I've told you. You guys can get some informed information, especially based on you're basing this increase in this evaluation on, I'm assuming, the last year, because it's an annual thing. So during that time, this, I'm telling you, took place, and I'm asking you to please table this and look into it before you make any decisions regarding this employee. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Well, I know there'll be money to hire another employee because my husband's wage is now available to hire somebody else with. And I do remember you told them both last year you were gonna make it a substantial raise because you made it a very small raise last year. I remember that.
Oh, dear.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So,
Do you have that down for who that
so
was?
my
for the record?
discussion, Jeff, did you have public comment?
Real quick, I was hearing a report on cost of living increases and the inflation, the cost of what it takes to have a household of 4 and what the increases are. And if you have a household of 4 people, it was like $900 a month is what it now costs since the last 2 years. I don't know when the last raise we got was, but over the last 2 years, you're now paying $900 more a month for your groceries if you're a family of 4. Sean, you're a family of 2 right now, I don't think you're 3. That, the cost of living right now, you can say, because when you say a 3-point-something% increase, I think that it's far surpasses 3.7% or whatever it is because of the cost of everything that's going up right now. So you might want to reconsider what that percentage is.
Thank you. So,
I have one public comment from the YouTube
Oh.
from Wayne Mortensen. And he says that a 5% increase is appropriate for Sean. Sean does a great job despite all the drama sent his way.
thank you very much.
That was kind of cool.
And so what's going on here at the GID is, and I was working with Kathy on it, and we kind of were honing in the CPI. You guys know I work at a public company, and it's pretty standard for everybody. And so now we're doing year-over-year CPI and using that percentage as a standard bearer so we're consistent. Because it's important when you use CPI that you're consistent in how you use it every year. And I also see in here the total value of compensation, which is a great idea, and we haven't done that in the past. And so basically, you guys understand last year, thanks to my friend out there was a big PERS increase, and there'll be another one next year. And we cover 100% of the operation manager's retirement. So we kind of held back last year a little bit because that's really an increase. Now this year, obviously, the legislature's not in session, so there's not a PERS increase right now. But what I do is I look at other public entities, and I'm trying to keep RGID consistent with what's going on in the region because we are a public entity, and I want us to be able to retain and hire people and not blow up our budget in the process, right? And I'll take feedback from you guys, and I've actually talked to Sean about this, and we're going to take feedback from Sean too. But I'm looking at, if I was making a motion, I would probably motion 5%. which based on his current wage has got an increase of about 4,400 a year for this. But you guys, what discussion do you guys have? I mean, next year there's a person.
I'm interested to hear from Nevada just first, before I make a few more comments, because he's in that industry. I mean, he's not a public entity, but he's in the industry and he knows what he has to pay his guys. He's not, you know,
His wages, they're right where they should be. I don't give my guys raises, I can't afford it, right? David. No, but anyway, no, I think, you know what, I think 5% is good. Basically because of this, you know, with the county, they have their yearly wage increases every year as well, plus the PERS increases. And I'm not opposed to it. I'm really not. Yeah, I think 5% is adequate. I think we do, you know, right in the ballpark. And I mean, will that go in as a effective, it won't be right now. That's not
The motion will be whatever the increase is, I'll make the motion that it's effective on the pay period that includes July 1st. When I make the motion.
well, I definitely think because of the cost of living here, I think we should give them an increase. I do note when I was a member of the public that this board had approved health insurance coverage for was paying not just for Sean, but for his family members. And that's a substantial benefit that is not common at all. I've worked in public sector jobs for many years, and we always paid for our spouse and our family if we wanted to add them. Most private employees, even one of the most popular employers in the Reno area, Patagonia, who gives unbelievable benefits like free massages and, you know, all kinds of things. They don't pay for the wife and the kids' health insurance. So that's a real perk that Sean gets. And I'm, you know, so I keep that in my head. You know, he's getting a perk that his counterparts at Washoe County don't get, his counterparts in the city of Reno don't get, you know.
Actually, Dan,
What?
if I could just, actually, at the GID, so he pays employees are covered 100%. He pays 25% of the premium for his family coverage. And in Washoe County, you pay, I believe, 50% for the family coverage. So they pay more in Washoe County. You can add the family in Washoe County, but you pay 50% for family coverage as opposed to 25%.
Well, it's been a while since I worked for the county, so.
And the only reason I know that is because I want this public entity to be somewhat consistent.
Well, we should be consistent with the other public entities,
With
yeah.
especially Washoe County, because that's
I
the pool
agree.
that we would draw
Yeah.
from.
Well, that is where we're gonna mostly draw.
Yeah.
So, I'm actually based on, recognizing that there are some concerns about things that may or may not have happened in the last year, that have been expressed by a member of the public. I'm not sure how that's relevant to this particular action, so, and we can't discuss that, at this meeting because it's not agendized. But I think based on what we discussed during the closed meeting and what, in terms of the performance evaluation, I'm not opposed to a 5% increase. We do have to keep in mind that we only have so much money. You know, we can't raise taxes. We certainly don't want to. And we don't want to impose extra fees or do any kind of assessments or stuff like that. And I know Sean has really tried to save the GID money in many ways, and I think that should be recognized. And so I'm not opposed to the 5%. But that's the motion we're making.
Well, the substantial, what I was thinking. Because we had a 1.875, I think is what he brought up last time, and we rounded it up to 2.
So last time it was 2?
It was 2%,
Okay.
yeah. And I think at that point, we were at the, whatever, the 8-some percent in the GPT or whatever the price index was. And as for this one personally, I get the 5, but I was thinking 7. That's just what I thought.
Doesn't hurt to ask, so.
That's right. What's the worst you can say? No. So that's where I'm.
The answer's always
And
no.
I
don't
do save
ask.
the district quite a bit of money. I've saved the district quite a bit of money. So anyway, it is.
You know, and for the public's benefit, if you have a couple examples, I think that would be useful.
Well, for the most part, a lot of the equipment is worked on and saved, I probably saved the district close to $70,000 to $80,000 in mechanical alone. What else? There's something that's really good, some recent. Give me a second.
Didn't you work something out with the county?
Oh, I did. I even did that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they
I
did some
brought
extra
them.
help for free.
Exactly.
They
They
donated.
brought us the little mini X and we tried to get that bank back because of the water staying too close to the road. And yeah, so I ended up getting I know some people at the county and they came and did that for us. And that saved tremendous amount. Thank you for reminding me of that. 'Cause that was my thing.
I pay attention.
Anyway, that's mine.
So, in our defense as a board, so the increase was low last year because we covered 3.5% of programs, which is substantial. So, and what I do is, I'm not willy-nilly about this at all because I'm one, just like Sean at another place. And I look at the CPI and I've looked at the history too of the operations manager of the district since he's been here and how he's fared wage-wise. And based on what Sean said, and this is, we can have a discussion on this. I mean, I'd be willing to go to 5.5%, but I'm really uncomfortable about that because we're paying, because we'll have to pay PERS on that too. It really, because I know John's here the same reason I'm where I'm at. It's a retirement, and that's a big part of the book of working here. So I mean, I would go to 5.5 if you guys wanted to.
Split it, 6.
I can't.
Well, and I actually did a little bit of research on payment, trying to find somebody who had a comparable job to Sean in the public sector. And I saw some that were, like his current annual salary, not including benefits, is 80. I mean, this is public record, so it's $86,715.20. And there's a couple that were closer to 90, okay, that had a similar job to Sean. And if we give them that 5% or 5.5%, that, 4,400 is what I think you mentioned, that's gonna get them a little bit above 90, and that makes them, I think, in the same range as some of those other folks that I saw. I went on Transparent Nevada, and I was trying to find somebody that is closely fit what you did, because it's a little unique. And he doesn't have a lot of employees, so he's not like he has a huge responsibility, managing a bunch of employees. It's really a mixture of all kinds of activities that he does. So I wouldn't want to go higher than 5.5 just because I think we need to be really careful with our money. It's not a reflection on you, Sean, but it's just, so that would, the president who's make the motion.
I'll make a motion that's effective on the pay period that includes July 1st for an increase to the operation manager's wage of 5.5%.
You want to second it?
I'll say.
We have motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries. And I'm a negotiator. See what you did? You did.
It's always no until, if you don't ask the question.
Okay. So I have this added back, judicial government affairs audit, possible action aid. I just wanted it to be clear that we were taking public comment on this. And we've approved our fiscal year budget for 2024, 2025. But to make sure we're in compliance with our agenda, I asked that this be put back on and we'll take public comment on the approval of the fiscal year budget if anybody has public comment. George?
George Boyce, for the record. I believe on next year's budget, we ought to take a look at doing some projects on the west side. I don't say major projects, but I think too much money is being funneled into the east side. Well, you've got taxpayers over here on the west side too. And I don't say a major project. I'm not telling the board what kind of project, but I think some kind of project on this side of the range of Fairmont Highway is the board should take into consideration when they're figuring the next year's budget. That's all I got to say.
Any other public comment on the 2024, 2025 budget? Okay, moving on.
The one thing is, the challenge, the road on the west side, where I live, we already talked last meeting about, we know that. So those are the kind of roads that need to be fixed within the next year's budget. But we still haven't gotten, I haven't heard from you or anybody on the board, when are we going to, or are we actively looking for some help?
We are actively looking.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I mean, I'm only thinking of you, Sean.
No, I got it. Yeah, thank you.
I do recall it last meeting that another person brought up Grass Valley on the
Grass
west
Valley.
side. And
Grass Valley.
we can kind of, when we're talking about regular road maintenance stuff as opposed to a big project like the Ironwood Axe Handle thing that we can contract it out, we can certainly, if we're concerned about something, but again, that's an operations manager is the one who's gonna usually say there's a priority, he sees a problem with Grass Valley or rangeland and so he's gonna come to us and say, hey, I'm gonna need an extra 30,000 or 50,000 in materials. Yeah, you got it. So that would come under road.
Yeah, the next
road,
agenda
yeah,
item,
a different agenda item.
but again, so you don't count, any board member is welcome. My only stipulation is if you want to talk about a road, see, I don't want to be vague. I want to know what road,
Yes,
what part of the road, and what you want done on.
right,
So the agenda item specific?
right. So we need to have it be specific enough. Yeah, so
Yeah.
people understand what area, what we're actually talking.
Yeah, so the people that live on that road can come and, yeah, make public comment.
Now, if I would, one more thing to talk about.
Wes, can you speak up just a
Yeah,
little
I'm
bit so it's
sorry.
on the recording? Yeah. Yeah.
I had a project in my yard a couple of weeks ago, and I just want to let everybody know it's on the west. That gentleman right there, that, so, he and I built a pond with the fire department's help. It is 100,000 gallons worth of water for the helicopters to be able to use to put out fires here in the valley. And I did it because I love this valley, I love the people in this valley, and I love my neighbors. So if you happen to hear a helicopter real loud one night, or one day.
Don't come to me about it.
It's my fault. The pool that we put in was a 30 by 30 by 15, and we're gonna raise it up another 2 foot tomorrow. But the fire department has absolutely, is ecstatic about the fact that we now have a pond in this area for moon rocks and for this valley to help put out fires without worrying about running out of water. I also have a 2,500 gallon tank that is accessible for the fire department alone at my front gate that they can use and pump as much water as they want in order to fill up the tanker truck. Because I know we had a fire a couple of years ago, a house burned down off of Anniversary or someplace, and they used over 6,000 gallons worth of water, and I helped fill their tank, at 46, engine 46, I helped them fill them back up. But I was able to do that because I have the well and I have, they wanted to take away my water rights, and I said, well, I have it. And,
Hey, thank you, sir, but I gotta get back on the agenda.
okay, I'm sorry. I
No, you're
didn't know
fine.
That's there for the summer.
Okay, road operations and maintenance reports. You know what, I'm gonna read the public comments I have with this item, and then we'll do the ops report after that. So there's 2 public comments that were sent in, and I'm just gonna read them. The first one is from Ron and Jan Jacob at 6555 Quaking Ashman Road. On 6/11/24 GID, I would like to be more specific about the area on Quaking Aspen Road that we have been asking to be repaired. It's on the edge of our property at 6555 Quaking Aspen Road and Robinson's property at 6200 Quaking Aspen Road. There's a lot of rock on the road, so I assume that a lot of DG is needed to fill that area. We would also like to request the area in front of our driveway at 6555 Quaking Aspen Road be repaired. Please have our request for repair be read in the public at the open forum so the public and the members of the committee will all hear. I have requested this repair at least 4 times with no success at getting it completed. We would like to have the previous denials by the operation manager be reconsidered by the board. We are unable to attend the meetings due to medical issues, but we would be happy to meet with a board member at the site of your convenience. We have provided our phone number to Robin Wright. Thank you, Ron, and Jacob. The next, this is from, this one came in today on June 20th from Don Otto. Request this be read live for the record during public comment on the road report section of the PVGIDD 6/20/24. On behalf of myself, Don Otto, and the residents listed below, Amanda Benfield, Chris DeRosa, Jan Chaco, Catherine Armstrong, James Ferguson, Dan Benfield, Julie DeRosa, Donnie Otto, Adam Dias, Noah Hamilton, Seth Otto, Ron Chaco, Matt Lambert, Kimberly Johnson, Andrew Wright, Elena Alfonso, Anthony Alfonso. We request the following road repairs needed on Quaking Aspen be repaired to bring it up to the good road standard that operations manager himself states he wants for all the roads out here. Refer to a statement in the minutes during the meeting of October 19, 2023. Many requests have been denied for various reasons, even recently. Work on Quaking Aspen has been on the agenda last year, but was tabled. For this reason, we now request directly to the board and welcome any board members to see the problem areas and the turnaround areas I can provide for the belly dump trucks for your official confirmation of needed repair. Contact myself. I will be glad to meet at these locations with additional residents included. Main problem areas are the very rough road in the first 1 to 1.5 miles needs regrading at least. Between address 6475 and the microwave turnoff needs material to cover nasty rocks that prevent grading and washed out areas. The incline area just below address 6600, which turned to mud bog in winter months, needs material. So those are the public comments. Let's do the, real quick, let's do the road operations and maintenance report.
You can see I basically, I think I got roughly about 8 miles of road. They ended up doing Grass Valley West last week, and 108,000 gallons of water went on that road. I started watering 6 hours. I watered that road at 100 degree or 99, and it kept wanting to dry. I jammed back down to the yard, grabbed the blade, came up, graded, and it was dry again. So I don't know if they're going to hold as long as they should, but for me, that's all I could do. I did some screening in the yard over at Ironwood also, so I can, when I do get a truck or I get somebody, I can go to Yellowtail, get that covered up where it was requested. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Any questions?
Well, I know, Wes has been commenting about getting you help, and I understand that you're responsible for hiring your employee, and so,
I do have that on
and
there, I apologize.
and you have that listed on something you did, but I'd like to hear how that, how
Okay.
that's going and what the,
Technically speaking, I went through 36 resumes. Only a handful really would qualify for the position. And I did have 2 interviews and skills testing. I actually hired a guy, and in the paperwork, drug test was part of that, and he never came back. That's where I'm at with that. Takes a very specific person. You have to have a CDLA and to be able to do all the other stuff. It's not just a cookie cutter position.
one of the things, and I'm not sure where you have advertised,
Indeed.
Indeed. One of the, and again, we can verify that it's free, but
It is free.
when I'm gonna say, when I met with the lady from Pool Pack, who we paid $13,000 this year to insure us and provide other supposed resources. And I know John's concerned that they'll charge us, or next year they'll charge us or whatever, but the way they do it is they spread their, the cost over hundreds of clients, because there's a whole bunch of entities like us, like the GID that is part of the Pool Pack. And one of the things they offer is free job. It's a job website, kind of a rural one. And I might encourage you then to contact them.
Okay.
And I'll give you the
Give me the
number.
yeah.
And it's free, and they kind of, because they realize it's hard sometimes, even though we're in Washoe County, which is one of the biggest population counties, and we're out from the downtown area, and so.
And I've been getting resumes from Idaho, from Utah, willing to relocate.
Which is good.
Yeah, so it's getting out there, they're looking.
Well, it's a great place to live. So I'll give you that just because it's free and.
Yeah, perfect, thank you.
And so Pam, what was Chuck's last day? Is it
May 16th.
The 16th,
Okay.
thank
So,
you.
right after, and of course, Chuck being a great employee, he gave proper notice, and Sean was advertising, and I discussed this. When I was a presiding trustee, I reached out to Sean once I knew what was going on, and we discussed how he was going about the process, and I made it clear it's solely his problem, right, to find an employee. And we kind of came to terms that, you know what, do your thing for a while, and let's see how it works. And then if we need to expand, we'll expand. And so at this point, it's been like a month. So you're aware that happened, that conversation happened, and we'll get to a point where we'll have to ask more. But I felt like, he had it covered.
Well, if you got 36, I think you noted
I mean,
36
but
resumes,
I
that
think the
means you
dental
got.
hygienist is perfect for this place. He's got a CDLA, so,
The other
I need
interview,
you.
how did the other interview you do?
I'm sorry.
You had 2 interviews.
2 interviews, yes. The other guy was just not gonna be, he wasn't.
We had 3, 1 didn't show up.
One didn't show up.
Yeah, he had 3, 1 didn't show up.
What do you mean?
The one guy was a no-show. You
Oh, you're right. Yes, I did. Well, he didn't show, so I apologize.
But
Yes,
you
I
set
was
it
gonna
up.
interview and he never came. And that is some of the time, that's what you get a lot of times. You know, I don't know what they're looking for, but the ad says it all. I mean, and number one, it even says you must be able to pass a DOT drug screen. Period, you know, and you must have this. This is helpful if you have, you know, equipment. Obviously, I have to have an A. That was another thing. The guy's like, yes, great, I want to come in. And then he goes, oh, wait, I don't have an A. That's me, okay. So there is some screening here going for sure that don't even make it to. As a matter of fact, I even call a lot of them and most of them are like, yeah. I'm like, did you apply for, oh, yeah. How you doing? You know what I mean? If they can't hold the conversation on the phone, that's something I say don't do.
Is there, while you continue to look for an actual, you know, full-time
Permanent.
staff, permanent position, person to fill the position, I know in certain professions, there's temp agencies that you could potentially, you know, hire for, especially when you're trying, you need somebody, for example, to drive the water truck, the problem that you just, you know, when it's really hot, by the time you go back and get, you really need that too.
Me too.
Yeah, and so is that something that, given what this current salary savings we're having, is that something you could do even, you know, I don't know, 1 week, but not every week, you know, kind of.
And to be honest with you, it varies on where the road is. Right now, Cornell Canyon is pretty much off the list for a little bit, which is fine because it was just graded a month and a half ago. Okay, to get water there is really not gonna work, right? Because it's so far away.
Right.
Now, Hawkberry, right, doing all the little pasture view or anything in the valley is fairly close. I even did right hand, as you can see, and those are my far roads. So I got a lot of the far roads. For the most part, I can keep up with a good substantial amount. But and anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm actively looking, and hopefully somebody will come.
I'll just take, we're not taking action on item A, but I'll take public comment. Road operations maintenance report.
There was one that came in on YouTube again from Wayne Mortensen, and he said, I am very happy to see the damage being repaired on Ironwood Road. I was wondering if the GID has considered applying a load limit to Ironwood Road after it has been repaired. It may be appropriate to apply a load limit to hopefully delay another road repair bill in the near future. Something to consider.
I've actually thought, is it possible to put signs?
Well,
No,
the
just
thing is
signs,
that
not-
even my guys, I bring in on whiskey, Amy, right?
Yeah, because it's a better road.
Well,
Well,
no,
I
it's
think
just
it's
that
not.
Ironwood's not a good road.
Well,
And
that's
it's-
what I'm saying.
And it's, yeah, it's not conducive to heavy weight, but there's no way we can control.
No, I just thought about a sign, though. I don't know. but- Okay, that's cool.
That's the problem. I mean, it's a great thought, but anytime I bring people in or my trucks in doing the heat, I'm always bringing them in on whiskey, but whiskey's sharp. We have very fragile roads. So,
The weight limit, though, if you had it on Ironwood, which is a bigger problem because there's a few, for lack of a better term, soft spots or whatever, where it's, you know, it's not holding up as well as other parts of the road. If you had a weight limit, because you even notice that the right side is worse than the left side. I mean, there's some, you know, this is just common sense, you know, and maybe it's an assumption on my part. But when they're building, people are, you know, building homes or they're building a road or whatever, they bring in the heavy loads of materials. And so it's heavy on the right side because they're bringing it in. And then they go take it to the building site or whatever, and when they take it out, it's not as heavy, right? But they can, I mean, I don't know the difference, but I've seen, you know, where they have three
Triples.
trailers, triples, right? they can leave two of the triples not on our private roads that can't withstand it, go deliver the one. I mean, it's a hassle for them. But
Well,
if
they've
we had
done
if we've had a sign that says, you know, because they are private roads that have been given the right of way to the GID. It's not like, I mean, even on NDOT roads, they
But
have.
the problem
limits.
is, I'm just gonna say this, and I don't mind if you wanna try and figure something out, I'm willing to work with you. But you can't control speed, you can control nothing on these roads because they aren't.
And traffic. Ironwood probably gets more traffic.
It sees 5 to
than
700
any road
cars a day.
in the valley. And remember, these are just chip seals.
Yeah.
They're not paved roads.
And if I was to put a sign up there, they would drive right by. So you're spending money on a sign that they will not listen to.
Yeah, I mean, the truck drivers trying to,
Because then they're stuck. What are they gonna do when they turn on there? And now what are they gonna do?
yeah,
Right?
Fixing the sign, yeah, that's true.
already committed. No, it's.
It's unfortunate and, you know, one of these days,
It is.
the road will get thicker.
Okay.
Chip sealing every year. will-
Right?
Okay, I'm moving on to item B. Request for funding for Class C road base.
Sorry, guys, but I only have enough for board members. And I'll get rid of you. And then in response to the E, I'm looking for 65,000 this year versus the 100. And that is to go from Amy Short on Wilcox to Quaking Asphalt recovery.
We charge us $7.50 a ton.
It went up,
Yeah,
everything went up.
No.
I don't know, this is a little bit older surcharge on fuel, but again, this is an estimate. So that's why it could be lower right now, but I'm not sure. But that's an 8%, so that's pretty good.
So, because we've had some public comment about Quaking Aspen, would that go up as far as what
No,
some of the
this
public
is-
requested?
This is Wilcox only,
To Quaking Aspen?
Yes.
Okay, all right,
because that is our main artery road.
right.
And just to clarify, some of the public comment in the Quaking Aspen areas are areas that would require material to be moved up to the portion of road being described in the public comment, which would need to be an agendized board item for we would approve, because it would be a project. And so we would have to approve and allocate some funding to acquire and move material up there. So that can be done in the future.
Okay, but just for clarification, I understand where you're coming from, but the agenda item is request for funding for Class E road base, and it doesn't say what road.
It goes right here and what I see.
No, on the agenda,
Right.
it doesn't.
It never has. That's what I have always brought in with it.
Okay, but because it's a request for the road base, I think it's within the scope of that agenda item for me to ask about
Oh, no,
other
no.
places that might need road,
Oh, no, completely down.
Class E road base, that's what I'm saying.
I'm just explaining why the public comment, like the Quaking Aspen, some of the issues on Quaking Aspen, they haven't been rectified, not at an error from the operations manager, because it needs to come as an agenda item to move material up there as a
Right.
project.
Grading he can do without us
Right.
approving any extra
Yes.
money, but if he wants extra money to help a road get a little bit more serviceable.
Or multiple roads,
Or multiple roads.
Yes.
which I've done.
Then he's gonna make a request to us, either because he's seen it himself or because enough of all of our constituents have said, gee, Sean, could you please do something about this road? So he brings it to, ask for an agenda item, or one of us does. He asks you to put it on the agenda. Then we've heard a lot of complaints from these, I say, John, can we put this on the agenda next time? and you would put that on the agenda, hopefully. A particular road that people had been complaining about. Doesn't mean we're gonna do anything.
Exactly.
All right,
I agree.
okay, my comment about this request, and I'm not saying I'm gonna vote no or something, but I can remember sitting in this, on the other side of this table, when a lot of money was spent on Wilcox Ranch Road. And it is I think it is one of the more bigger roads, and a lot of roads come off of it and everything, so I think it does need to be maintained to a certain degree. I just remember going, okay, when are they gonna ask, we spent 100 and this thousand, and then, when are they gonna come back? They better not come back and ask, I'm on that side of the table, for some more money for this road, because it seems like Wilcox Ranch is like one of the favorite roads of the GID to take care of.
500 to 700 cars a day.
Yeah, it gets a lot of use, and so therefore it wears down faster. And I think it's important though, that's why I think it's important to talk about that, to bring those facts out, so that our public understands why Wilcox Ranch is getting attention yet again, even though we've heard from people from Grass Valley, the Grass Valley Road, we've heard from people up at Quaking Aspen. We need to make that point, you're asking for $64,000.
65.
65,
I'm making a
okay,
number
yeah,
up.
okay.
It's just because that says that,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
saying
fine, yeah, 65,000, say, listen, we know that road gets that many roads, it's deteriorating, we've been there. I know these other roads need some help too, but this one really needs it more. I'm just saying, in terms of communicating, Sean, it really helps
Oh, yeah.
the
Yeah.
public
And next
understand.
year, because we're gonna be a little bit less on our paving projects, I'm gonna hammer you for 200,000 for a lot of different roads.
And to clarify that, as far as, quest here to go from Amy to Quaking Aspen, you correct me if I'm wrong, I could be wrong, but 2022 might have been the last time we put material on the road, maybe? Could have been 2021.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's been a long time.
it was early in my tenure on the board. And on that section of Wilcox.
That's a main argument.
Yeah, so it's been 2.5 years.
It's held up pretty good for what was there,
Yeah. So,
but it's thin.
public comment? Matt?
Matthew Lambert. I'm just thinking of like, if you're going to Quaking Aspen, it's not the entire road of Quaking Aspen that needs the help. It's that upper portion of Quaking Aspen. So I believe it's like a little less than, maybe a little more than a mile, a little less than a mile of, I know it's not that big of an area. So maybe you guys could discuss like, since you're going to Quaking Aspen, maybe you can discuss adding that onto this to add some material at that top portion, because it's not really it's not the entire road. I mean, the whole road needs grading, but as far as adding that material, it's not the entire road. It's just that upper portion. So if you're going there anyways with the equipment and it's all gonna be there, why not just, bring some rock and add it to this? It's not.
Thank you, I'll respond to that. Jan?
So Jan Mortensen, for the record, I just want to respond to Matthew Lambert that I would invite him to drive down the top portion of Yellowtail Road and see that the whole thing, except for two little portions, are big rocks sticking out. So I would like my road done, as I've had a road request in since March. So.
Thank you. Any other public comment?
There was one more that came in from Wayne Mortensen, and it kind of delayed a little bit, but it was again about the sign, and he had mentioned that putting a load limit sign is better than not having a sign. At least you would have notified people. So just.
Okay, so in response to the public comment, this is my concern. Okay. We have $143,000 left
For what time period?
through August.
Okay.
We have 65,000 in front of us. I need facts and figures and numbers on any other road other than what I'm looking at before I'm going to approve any money tonight. That's just me. because we're getting close, we're getting close. You know, because 143, we're taking 65 out of that, and we're still not into July yet, and this is all the money we have to August. the income. So I'm not averse to doing that, to adding on to it, you know, if we come with some numbers and some tonnage and some trucking, and how much is this gonna cost? But I don't wanna just willy-nilly say, well, let's just add 10 grand on that, and then we'll go up with five. I need something more specific, but I have no problem approving this with any, on roll docs, maybe, for the capacity.
I think we can approve it, and I agree, we don't wanna just approve adding, throw another 10,000, but since you mentioned that number, there has been concern about, you know, maybe there's something we can do on the west side, this side of, and so maybe what we can do is encourage Sean to see if there's a place on the west side, two areas, and do something similar, you know, with the money we have left. Not all of it, but, you know, just.
You gotta have a cushion.
Yeah, I know.
So-
We're gonna get some more money, but,
Yeah.
you know, but something, you know,
Yeah.
give us,
No,
you know,
I've got-
give us some
I've got it.
options for the next
You bet.
meeting. And, you know, for one thing, you know, because we can't decide that now, I appreciate what John says, we're not just gonna throw money, add money onto it. And if, you know, that 10,000 that we have the little asterisk
You
by,
can scratch. Oh, I'm sorry.
the
Yes.
10,000 that was
Yes.
donated,
Yes.
you know, I mean, that, there we go, Wilcox Ranch, you know, we can, and then we'll, or when we go to the west side, we do it on the west side.
And for sure, yeah.
And we should look at, I mean, Quaking Aspen gets pounded because it goes up. We got, I mean, they got a lot of guys going up there. They do. I've been up there. It gets to something we need to look at here in the future. Next, you know, down the road.
And I agree with that, and my issue, and I talked to Sean about this too, my issue is, I don't mind this, and I don't mind agendizing some kind of repair work on Quaking Aspen when I see numbers, what we need to do up there, right? I don't have a problem with that. This is a primary road we need to take care of.
Yep.
I have Broken Spur project that still needs to get done. I need to finish the project on the pavement. I am not adding another project until these things are off. the
Well, we
ground.
have another fiscal year coming up, so we could wait.
Yeah. I mean,
We need to finish things and then bring other things, but that's my.
I understand. Well, we have a public comment, I don't know if you want some more.
No, I'll take it.
I don't, Paul Taylor, I don't know which agenda this would go under, but remember we've talked in the past about the companies that are using Quaking Aspen with all their big rigs and having them pay some kind of portion to fix that. Has that gone anywhere? And I don't remember if somebody said they were gonna get in touch with them, if that person's even on the board anymore. I don't know any of that, but that seems like something we should start working towards, is getting those companies to pay their share for destroying that road.
some type of impact fee of some sort.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve 65,000 in Class C material for maybe the Quaking Aspen and Wilcox Ranch.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, calendar.
Okay. So what we did receive was we had to send in the final budget. and-
Sorry, did you want to skip
Yeah,
C?
you skip C.
I'll go back to it. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things that was due this last month was sending in the budget to the state. We received a letter back from them on the 17th stating that the Department of Taxation has examined your final budget in accordance with NRS 354.598. We find the budget to be in compliance with the law and appropriate regulations. Please be advised the following tax rates will be presented to the Nevada Tax Commission on June 25th, 2024 for certification. And our tax rate is 0.4198. And Pam, we can't raise it because that is the max that we can do. And so the budget was approved, and that was one of the items that needed to be sent in. And then The county commissioners are going to have a hearing on the tax rate, but it can't go up. And we have due in July, the annual fiscal reports. Angie's already completed those and we've already sent those in. And that's basically what I have, except the next meeting will be on the 18th of July.
Thank you, Robin. Let me jump back real quick to item C, PVGID 2024 pavement rehabilitation update. So Sean's been working on that with the contractor. Monday, he met with them, the patching crew, and went over the areas we were patching. They came out at the last minute. You guys understand that SNC is a big company. They got big jobs, a lot of big jobs. We're a small job. So it's very fluid, right? It's fluid. You know, when they can fit us in, they'll call at the last minute. And that's what happened here. As soon as I knew, I let Robin know and she posted it, but I'm not gonna turn these guys away because we might not get them back for another month and a half. So if they can get it here on their valley and do the work great. So they came out and did all the patching, axe handle, ironwood. I think they cut a couple spots on Amy and Wilcox.
Amy and
Whiskey. So that all got done today. Tentatively, I'm hearing they're gonna come back on July 2nd to do chip and fog. Hopefully before July 4th, that'll be done on axe handle and iron. So, go ahead.
I'm sorry, this is back into my spot. I meant to say this. I want to get this out. This happens every year. Our weeds are growing. Anybody that lives on a single lane road, run over your weeds to make your road wider because it just would help you get a wide road. I want to put that on the comment, so.
So that's what we know about the pavement rehab project. Hopefully we'll have a completion at the meeting on July 18th, and this year's pavement rehab will be done.
And that's out of our 23-24 budget, correct?
It's kind of weird, Pam, because, yeah, but it's part of that money through August 31st,
Okay.
and then that'll recycle. Yeah. But it was approved under the last budget.
Yeah.
Any public comment on that item? Okay, unfinished business, none. New business, all items for possible action. Possible approval of independent contractor letter of engagement with Kathy A. Blathar for consulting services. And obviously I'll open this up to public comment at some point. I just want to tell you guys, this is my item. I put this on here and I'm willing to hear all discussion on it, obviously. Basically, I think this is overdue since October of last year. I mean, I appreciate the work that our independent contractors are doing. Coming in here with little help, they've done amazing. In a chaotic time in the district. But my feeling is, especially as getting into the VP role again in January, my feeling's been that as a whole, as a public entity, we're running on a learning curve and sometimes by trial and error. And in my mind, having Kathy back to help bridge that, I think is a benefit for the district. And to be honest with you, I have to bring this item. Running by trial and error as a public entity with a budget like ours, with responsibilities we have, I would feel like I wasn't doing my duty as a representative not to have this on the agenda. And some of the things that Kathy has put in there for services to be provided, almost everything she listed are things Kathy and I were working on before she left. And those are things we need to get done. Work handbook, it's a big deal, needs to be redone. That history and knowledge from Kathy is paramount to doing that and doing it right. And I think it's important in a one-year agreement with Kathy Blathar is to, I think our duties as trustees is to set us up for the future. And I think over a year, kind of ironing out some things that were rough around the edges on now and getting some things updated, it sets a GID up for a decade. And I personally, as trustee, I need her help to do that. So, any discussion from you guys on
Oh, yeah. But do you want to open it to the board or to the public?
that? No, we'll do public comment first if you want. We'll do public comment.
It's up to you, but
Public comment. Brian?
Yeah, Brian Granbro for the record. I've known Kathy Galathar for over 20 years. She was a neighbor, so you know how neighbors go around here. We're probably about a half a mile away from this crow farms. And I've known her to be an extraordinarily competent, professional, process-driven person who loves her neighbors, loves this valley, even though she no longer physically lives here, which would be ubiquitous. High-speed networks we have now, that's just, should not even be an issue. But her knowledge of this area is so deep, and the institutional knowledge that she has of the GID, I believe is invaluable. Whatever you task her to do, she will do. She will do it in an exceedingly professional manner. She will get it done on time. And I remember listening to Vicki and her and Sean working through all the projects and stuff back prior to, anyway. But I recommend that the board go ahead and bring her online. As a matter of fact, her nickname was the Mayor of Palomino Valley, because we all knew that if we needed any information, we would just call her and she would know. So having institutional knowledge like that, I see as being a benefit to the district.
Any other public comment? Jan?
So, Jen Morrison for the record. I agree with Brian that the institutional and historical knowledge would be very helpful. And pretty much vital now that, she has been gone for a while, we have the turmoil, and now you guys are back up and running. I have a few issues with verification of the letter, though. So one is, she says I may incur various expenses, and then she said, the PDGID agrees to pay all such reasonable expenses. That's a little too subjective for me, I guess. I'm an independent contractor and I make up my own letters of engagements. And the use of her personal vehicle for GID matters. She's in North Carolina? Or South Carolina? Somewhere back there. What does she use her vehicle for? I'm confused about that. And also, as an independent contractor, I need to pay my own liability insurance. I cannot have my clients say, okay, I gotta pay, I have $1 million liability insurance, you gotta pay it. And that's because of my job. I mean, I need that liability insurance in order to work. So I don't see us paying that for her. And I don't know whether she has another job that entails her doing that. And then we just gave Sean a raise, and we just talked about money. And if we go at $50 an hour for 40 hours a week, for 52 weeks for a year, that's $104,000. And half that's $50,000. And I just, want you to be aware of that. Is that what we're giving up? And I know that we all understood that Pam was the best person to go on the board right now, because she could help with the policy manuals and the procedures, and also with the the open meeting stuff. So that's what
Yeah.
Do I have Kathy on the
Any
phone?
Kathy on the phone?
I do.
Okay. Kathy, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Any other public comment?
Okay, so I noticed about the professional liability insurance policy as well. I agree with the statement that that's something that an independent contractor should carry themselves. I absolutely object to the 4 of 5 trustees voting in favor of early termination. A majority of the board is 3, and it should be 3. That creates all kinds of problems if somebody's not here. We have to postpone, if we decided we didn't need her services anymore, we'd have to postpone it for another month. I'm sorry, I just think if we have a quorum of 3 people can vote, 3 trustees can vote to terminate the contract. I concur that Kathy was a very valuable assistant to the board for many years. And I think we've gone through a very difficult time, and so I'm writing here, and John, you did address some of this. When I first saw this, I'm like, do we even need this now? I mean, we needed this 6 months ago, but do we really need it today? That's the question that I'm concerned about. The contract as it's written also, and it's frankly doesn't have any kind of limits built in. I feel like it's almost a blank check, and I mean, I don't think she's gonna work 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, but you know, what's the limitation on how much we use her? I mean, we had a problem with our attorney, where somebody on the board was calling or emailing or asking questions, and I mean, it's a higher rate than $50 an hour, but it was cha-ching, and all of a sudden we have $3,000 a month in attorney's fees when we, in previous years it didn't even come close to that. So I have some real concerns that this could become an out of control cost to the district. So I feel like it needs to have a little bit more limitations. One of the reasons why I was willing to serve on this board is, and I've mentioned it earlier, is I think some of us need to do more work. And you've done a lot of work on the side. When Larry Johnson was here, I can remember him doing a lot of work, for free. And between what I learned from Pool Pack, and trust me, if they're going to charge me, I'm going to say no, thank you. Okay, but if they'll do stuff for free, but between what they might be able to help me with, I mean, I'm willing to put in some time on some of these, and I haven't been with the district like she has, so there's the historic things. I'm not saying we couldn't do something with her, but I think it has to be more limited because this is way too broad. When I read this, I was like, I mean, somebody made a comment about her being the mayor of Palominos Valley, and maybe that's true at one time, but she doesn't live here anymore. We're the board. And Sean and whoever he hires is the GID employees. And I think she's got absolutely some valuable information and assistance, and she should be compensated for it. She should volunteer her time. And you've expressed there's some specific things that she was helping you with, but like on the roadway easements research project, I understand there's some stuff that's already been done on that, but that's something that has some potential costs involved, where I'm not sure, you have to point to me where we approved spending money on it. We have to think about that when we ask even Robin, our new assistant to the board, if we say we'd like you to go find something, and she says, that's going to take me 20 hours of work. And then you take, that's 20 hours over and above what she's already doing. We have that in the budget, and so this is something that's not in our budget, okay, for 2020, for the rest of this year, and it's not in the budget for 24, 25. That means taking money from road maintenance. So I really feel like, there's no way I would spend up to $50,000 on Kathy Blacker or anybody else for compensation purposes. But if there's a limit somehow in here, up to a certain time, if we could it's gonna have to be redrafted, in my opinion. I'm willing to volunteer my time to redraft it and work with Kathy on it if she wants to get something that I can support. But I can't support this as it's written.
And that's fine, Pam. And to answer some of your questions, all the independent contractors answer it. They don't answer to the president of the board. They answer to the board of trustees. They work for the board. So these are, when you look at the letter of engagement, these are things that she's willing to do for the district. Okay, but she takes direction from the board. It's not a blank check, right? So like if I'm working with Kathy on the board handbook, her and I are working on that. It's not gonna be a $10,000 bill. It's gonna be what is necessary to get the job done within the confines of not blowing to a lot of money. Just like when she was the assistant to the board, there weren't high bills coming in from Kathy Blathow to do those duties. I don't foresee, this isn't a full-time job. You know, in my mind, a consulting job like this might have been $1,000 a month to help us out, is what I foresaw on some of these issues over a year. But nothing like too, extraneous. And as far as the budget, now, being on the board, working with Kathy in the past, one thing I do know is, you mentioned the attorney. Most of what the attorney, I'm saying over 90% of what the former attorney did, Kathy did it on her own. The attorney, we didn't need an attorney to do that when she was here. She did those things. And there's a $20,000 budget for an attorney right now in the next fiscal year. I'm not actively looking for one. And I think Kathy throws most of that in there. As far as the liability insurance, I'm not totally aware on the liability insurance. I don't know what the current independent contractors are doing. Is GID covering?
Not mine.
But yours?
Okay,
The attorney had said that because of prior practice that I was required to carry it and that the kid would cover it. But I've spoke to Pam and I am going to stop. I'll just pay it for it myself because I thought as an independent contractor, like Pam said,
So current, so
the same
in the very
thing
near future, the independent contractors
will
will
not
be
be
paying it
covered
on their own.
on our own.
I always
Okay.
have.
Yeah.
Fair
So-
question.
Should be looking to pay for insurance.
Well,
Everything
Ken,
I've
what
heard
about
about Kathy Blathow has been nothing but, I go down to the county, I do permits, and the first thing people see when they see Palomino Valley Construction, how's Kathy doing? Everybody talks about, I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, and I'm sorry I haven't. I've heard nothing good. Nothing but good about it. And I think she'd be an asset. I'm totally for her helping our girls out.
And
we're
the
promoted
board,
all the
and the
time.
board, yeah.
People work promoted everywhere. I don't have a problem with the location. But she does know a lot. She's very, very knowledgeable about the valley. She's very, very knowledgeable about the GID. And I think maybe her assistance to our assistants would be extremely helpful. She can jump around and carry her own, liability insurance. I don't usually have an issue with that.
Kathy, why don't you jump in here, Kathy, and maybe answer some concerns or?
Yeah, the liability insurance, the reason why I added something in there is because you all have been currently paying a contract workers liability insurance on a monthly basis at $136 a month.
So if we're not doing that, you would forego and you would pay it yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And I did that for many months before.
Okay.
And as far as any mileage, if I had to, the only mileage I can think of is if I had to go to the post office and mail something off. But there'd be very little instance where I have any kind of mileage. And expenses mainly, if I make copies or do any kind of, well, if I mail something off, I expect to get reimbursed for the postage. But those things would be minor and very infrequent, I would think. And as far as, assisting, training the independent contractors, there's a lot of nuances to, like the budget. Yes, it got approved by the state, but there are errors in the budget that the state doesn't care about, but the GID should care about. And there's other financial reports that need a little polishing, let's say. And it is because of the knowledge I have of doing many of these reports. I set up the estimated operating reports for road improvements because I saw a very strong need for that, so that the board knew in the summer months when the big projects are being done, that's when you have the least amount of money coming in. So that's another example. And I have to plug in my phone, sorry.
So my question, Kathy, is on this. So Pam's got some concerns with the actual agreement. And you know me, because you and I work together, and I like when everybody's on board. So, I mean, do you have a problem working with Pam on this agreement and revisiting this? I mean, I don't want to hold, I know it's been a lot of months. Can we do that and put this back in July?
Absolutely.
And you're going to do that, Pam?
Yeah, I'm willing to work with her. And I think a question I guess I have for you, Kathy, because I think we'll be fine, is how do you envision, you just mentioned a couple things that you think you might be able to help Robin and Angie with that, have been kind of lost in the shuffle through this transition time. And how do you envision handling that? Because as you know, we've just kind of come out of a very difficult time with the GID, and we don't want to pull the scab off the wound, just so to speak.
Actually, if you'll let me, before she talks, speak to that.
Okay.
Hold on, Kathy. So this, again, all the independent contractors answer to the Board of Trustees, okay? So if Kathy is here as a consultant, she takes direction from us. So it's fine for her to answer that question, but it's going to be envisioned how we see it. And how I've discussed with Robin about it is a lot of this stuff I want to work with Kathy on to get it done. Okay. The help that she might give the independent contractors, in my mind, in discussing with her and Robin, is it's a collaborative team effort. Nobody is anybody's boss here. It's a team effort. And that's how I envision it. It's not to beat people up. It's not to attack people. It's not to belittle or diminish people. I mean, this says consultant. Kathy's not gonna be the assistant to the board, okay? I want her help for a year, so this board can move forward for a decade without issues. And that's how I envision it. And as a board, that's how we should all envision it. But Kathy, you can go ahead and answer that.
Well, we put a year in here, and it might not take a year. I think especially all the different reports, financial reports for the, state, I would like to look them over and point out what, may need to be corrected. Just like the budget, there's things that, need to be corrected, and it's because it's lack of training. They haven't been trained how to do these reports, and there's a lot of, particular ways of doing the report, and it needs to be done completely properly, not just what the state approves, but what is proper for this GID. And that's something they're not gonna get from the state. It's my institutional knowledge. I've done this for years, and I've learned the ins and outs. I've made mistakes. I'm not perfect, but I've learned how to do these reports properly. And I just want to be able to assist the contractors with that, and wording of agenda items, and other items like that. So that's my take.
Well, I think that wasn't, and even though I know she's probably was willing to do this 6 months ago, but because of the leadership on the board, that wasn't gonna happen.
And I look at it, Pam, and I understand your, and I'm gonna motion to table this, but I want to discuss this a little bit. And I understand your concerns, but I'm a policy and data-driven person. I'm not worried about feelings and scabs and wounds. We have a job to do for the people of this valley, and that is the best way to do it right now, in my opinion. And I think you and Kathy working on a collaboration of what everybody's agreeable to, as far as letter of engagement and the limitations and specifications of that is great. And I just want to say, because I make mistakes too, right? And I'm going to give an example, and it cost the district, I think, $1,200. Because when we advertised for this project, I told Robin, I said, hey, Robin, put it in the journal for 7 days. I didn't have to put it in for 7 days. It needed to be in there for 1 day. I don't know that. Robin doesn't know that. I'm trying to remember from when I did it last year, right? And there's a cost savings to having someone who's been around the block a few times. That's my issue. So I'll motion to table this item till July. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion
Kathy,
carried.
if you don't have my number, you probably still have my email, and then we can get going on it right away. I think it's a great idea to have you on. I just need a different agreement, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you, Jeff.
Correspondence.
We had the letter from the state on the budget, which I already went over. So, other than that, we just have the regular bank statements and that type of thing come in, and Angie has all of those.
Cool. Okay, board member and staff items, topics for future agenda, statements relating to items not on the agenda, and announcements for information presentation only. No discussion or action will be taken under this item. So, I just have one thing to read. Dated June 19th, 2024, from Trustee Helton. To the Board of Palomino Valley General Improvement District, this is the formal notice of my resignation from the position of trustee for the Palomino Valley General Improvement District. After careful consideration, these are my reasons for my resignation. The termination of our attorney without a replacement has created a legal problem. The board had the same problem when our attorney Patrick G. W.M. B.M. law firm just over a year ago decided to stop representing the PBGID. At the time, many of our constituents and some board members held us responsible for not retaining any attorney. The replacement should have been in place before the termination of our existing attorney, Frank Flaherty. Number two, I cannot in good faith be part of a board that continues not to address the hostile environment created by our operation manager towards our secretary and bookkeeper. Now it appears that our longtime employee Chuck has resigned due to the same hostile environment. Dan Hudson.
Oh, okay, we're done.
I'm sorry.
There'll be an opportunity for public comment. So yes, we'll do it.
Anybody else have any board members identified?
I do. I wanted to let you guys know that I met with Robin and now the name's escaping me, Robin.
Stacy Norbeck.
Stacy Norbeck from Pool Pack. And they gave me a great booklet about all the different services they have. A lot, and so almost all of them are free, which I was surprised to hear about. But for example, they have an employee assistance, pay attention now, Sean, an employee assistance program in which you can get 4 free counseling sessions a year if you need it. I'm not suggesting you do it.
What are you saying?
They have a free, actually the board can, even though we're not employees, the board can apparently take advantage of this
What's
as
that
well.
number? I might need it after tonight.
There's actually also a free 30-minute consultation meeting with an attorney. And so if there was something that, you know, you were concerned about,
I have some personal stuff, that'd be great.
yeah, there you go. Anyway, they also, I mean, there was some expressed concern, some people have expressed concern about, you know, not having an attorney, and I do think at some point we need to address that, okay? But if we're concerned about like open meeting law, they have an open meeting law expert that is, you know, so if Robin is like going, I don't, you know, when she's putting the agenda or the president's putting the agenda together and they're like, gosh, I really want to have somebody look at this, you know, and make sure it's solid. They have an expert because I know that, like I said, on my senior advisory board, both the president and it's chair and vice, you know, it's president and vice president work on the agenda. If you want me, I'm not saying I'm an open meeting law expert, but I know quite a bit about it. I can also look at it, and that is until we get an attorney to make sure that our.
You will be. You're tagged on all the
Okay,
emails
okay,
now.
the agendas. They also do assessments for free, like a risk management assessment. They do on-site assessments. They have online compliance training for employees. I think it's something that all the board members should at least have a chance, and we can maybe circulate, you know, rather than kill a bunch of trees. Take turns looking at it, go through it, come through it. If you have questions, there's names and numbers, and you can call these people, and it's for free when you call. There's no cha-ching, like every time somebody called our prior attorney, you know, that's how they make their money, yeah, private insurance. I did talk to Angie before the meeting, and she's agreeable to about that insurance thing. I noticed in the bill somewhere that the Costco card has Larry Johnson on it, and so that made me think that we need to have somebody look at things like that.
It's in mine too, and it's just one of those things that you just climb around.
Oh,
As a matter of fact, I need something on the agenda.
yeah, I think it might be something that needs to be on the agenda just to correct it.
And
fine.
But what needs to, what I'm asking to be put on the agenda, because I just found out something and I can't talk about it, because of whatever, but be put back on the payroll. And I'll have a reason for that next week.
Anybody else have any board member staff comments? No? Public comment, on matters not listed on the agenda, and I'll do it in just a second. I just want to say one thing. Thank you, Angie, for coming up with a great YouTube idea. And it seems like it's working, and I think we'll move forward with it. And Robin, got the link right, had it posted, so bravo to you guys, great idea. Took care of people's issues out there that wanted to see that, and it's like really little and no cost, so I mean, you can't beat that.
Can you tell how many people are watching?
We have 3 people right now, and we've had up to 5.
Okay.
So it's it keeps going up and down. So I don't know if somebody keeps dropping off, coming back because our Wi-Fi sucks so bad out here, or if it's just that many new people. But it has been at least 5.
Thank you.
Matthew Lambert for the record. Regarding Quaking Aspen, so Washoe County, it's like their communications or whatever, they manage the towers, and they have the people, the companies that manage the towers at the top of Quaking Aspen or Microwave Peak. So maybe you can get an employee, John, because I know you're busy, but get an employee to contact them. I've already done it. Verizon, AT&T, Washoe County Sheriff's Office, all of them go up there with their equipment, damage the road. I've called them. They won't talk to me. They said it has to be a government official or somebody so it'd be the board or employee. And they said they are willing to assist. I spoke to you about this months ago. So that's a step forward. Maybe you can, get that going in the right direction, or, get the employee going in the right direction. To get some money put on the road, on Quaking Aspen. And then, John, I want to be very clear about what I was saying earlier. Please make some phone calls, call Tom Baker, speak to the employees, and get the information that I'm asking you to. I'm just saying, please do it, because it's ridiculous. Once you get the information, I promise you're going to see how ridiculous what has happened to me is. And I'm just asking you to please look into it. And this is me doing a good faith effort to get this rectified. And that's why I'm saying, please do something about this. That's it. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Well, I was taken by shock by what was written
Could
by
you state your name for the record?
Paula Taylor, by Dan, and I guess all I can say is that's his opinion. It is not fact. So don't take it as fact.
Any other public comment? Jan?
Jan Mortensen, and I just want to thank Angie very much for the YouTube thing. Obviously, my husband has utilized it. And you've been very gracious on being his voice, and also to Robin for posting it. It was great.
Any other public comment? Brian?
Brian DeMambro for the record, and I just want to say, it was sure awfully nice being in a meeting, World War III son got to break out. And thank you so much, John, and Nevada, and Sean, and Angie, and Robin, and everybody. And it's nice to see the board in this district being back. I really appreciate it. That's it.
Any other comment? Okay, adjournment. I'll make the motion to adjourn at 8:02. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you, folks, for coming out.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you for your time.
It's the first time I opened my mouth.